welcome all of you to our another session of Mentor R on the topic Get Started, an overview of legal requirement for startup. Today we have Dinesh sir with us. I would like to welcome you, sir.
Hello. Hi, Anushka. It's my pleasure to associate with Lawyer, and I thank Lawyer to give me opportunity to present this webinar. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. So Dinesh sir have an experience of more than 10 years as a corporate lawyer. His work focus on advisory for startup formation, business documentation, websites term and condition, and many more. Before the commencement of the webinar, I would request all our audience to please keep yourself on mute to avoid any disturbance during the webinar. Secondly, a form will be shared with you. Please fill the form to get yourself marked attendance for the webinar. Thirdly, we would request all of you that if you have any questions or queries, please mention them in the chat box. Sorry, I would like to mention that sir has an experience of more than 15 years as a corporate lawyer.
Thank you.
So yes, now we would like to begin. So you can take over the screen.
Yes. Let's get started, friends. Friends, this topic is very close to my heart, and I hope this topic is also close to your heart also. This is a very essential topic to get know various legal essentials for the startup. Let us understand what does startup mean. Startup means a business in its early stage of development. It refers to a business intends to grow and expand. Everybody has an aspiration to do business, right? So that business everybody wants to do with a lot of sincerity, with a lot of research. So it's very essential that at the beginning itself you need to, or rather every startup needs to understand what are the legal essentials so that you will not fall into the pitfalls. Okay, Abhay, next slide please. Okay, so everybody now understand that Government of India has started the Startup India program with effect from 16th January 2016. This startup programs has an objective of supporting startups, entrepreneurs, and building the ecosystem and transforming India into a nation of job creator instead of job seekers. You know that startups create a lot of job. It has a lot of potential. Startup has the ideas. It can go big and therefore can create a lot of jobs. So this program is very, very essential. So let us understand what are the benefits if you join the Startup India program. Next slide. Okay, so if you want to register under the Startup India scheme, you need to do the registration at the website of official website of Startup India scheme. There are certain criteria. If you fit into that criteria, then only you can eligible for the registration. The criteria are mainly like you need to be a company or a limited liability partnership or a registered partnership firm. There has to be 10 years, maximum 10 years from the incorporation, then only you be allowed to be registered. And plus, very important thing is that you need to have a very novel idea, research development based idea, which could create a lot of job. Okay, so the registration is on the basis of, or rather, two-layer registration. First registration is with Startup India, and then the next registration is with the Department of Income Tax. And if you do the two successful registration, then you are eligible for various benefits and privileges. I will just quickly inform you what are these benefits. The first benefit is you will get income tax exemption for 3 years, which is very important. Say you can imagine that it's a saving of tax for 3 years. The next benefit is capital gain tax exemption. Normally, it is called as an angel tax. Okay, so when startup gets investments from the investor, shares are issued at premium. So the capital gain will be applicable or will be paid on the premium amount. So if you are registered with Startup India scheme and then the further registration with income tax, then you will get exemption from the capital gain. The second benefit is on the patent cost. Every startup, if it is if it has a patent potential, you will get exemption or the rebate up to 80% of the patent cost. It is always desirable if you have the idea which has a potential to get patent, then please register it. The registration of patent will immensely benefit you in the future. Second thing is that it is a very simplified registration process. The registration, it's very easy. You can do it on your own on the website of Startup India scheme. Very less documentation you need to give it to the department. And after scrutinizing your documents, your basic concept about the business, you will get the registration. Next slide. Okay. So now let us concentrate and let us understand what are the forms of business available to startups. Yes, first thing, you struck with idea and you want to start a business. So how business will start? There are certain forms of business available in India, and you can choose a particular form. I will explain you what are the forms available for you. Next slide. Okay. So now once you have decided that you want to carry on business, so what are the forms available with you? First is sole proprietorship, partnership, limited liability partnership, private limited company, one person company, and public limited company. These are like major forms available. Now let us go one by one. Sole proprietorship. Sole proprietorship, as the name suggests, it is a solo business where you your own are the complete decider of the business. You start business with just a name and you carry on your business. No registration as such is required for the sole proprietorship. Partnership, there are two minimum partners required. A registration is desirable. You need to register your partnership with the state office of the Department of Partner or Register of Partnership Firm. The third option available is limited liability partnership, that popularly known as LLP. Again, in LLP, you require minimum 2 person to start. 2 persons will be called as a partner, and you need to also decide among yourself who are the designated partners for the partnership firm. No as such requirement of minimum capital for LLP. Next option available is private limited company. Here you require minimum 2 directors, minimum 2 shareholder. Directors needs to have the DIN registration, that is the director identification number. Same is applicable for LLP also. The partners needs to have the DIN number. Here in private limited company, you can have directors separate and the shareholders also separate, 2 layers of administration. Private limited company is a very popular form of business in India. You can very well, because of the simplified process, you can easily register the private limited company. Now, the second option available is one person company, popularly known as OPC. OPC, as the name suggests, one person company. It is same like sole proprietorship, but with a limited liability feature. So, so here you require only a one person who will be the director as well as the shareholder. You need to give the details of the nominee who can be successor in case of death of the person. Again, registration is pretty simple. No as such minimum capital requirement criteria. You can incorporate OPC very quickly. Well, next is public limited company, where minimum 3 directors and the 7 shareholders are required. This option normally choose where you need to when you need you require a large scale business, or where large investors are required, then normally this business this information this form is chosen by the companies. The next slide, please. Okay. So once we have decided now what form of business we need to choose or select, then the next important points are what are the important licenses, registrations, and permissions you require. What are the documents you need to enter into? What are the documents you need to and the last is what are compliance you need to do. So we will go one by one. So next slide. Okay.
Cannot
So
see
now
your slide.
Okay. Abhay,
Excuse
Anushka,
yeah,
please.
sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt you, sir. I think there is some technical problem at Abhay's side. So, if possible, please continue. We'll just look into it. Thank you.
Sorry, audience, there is a technical glitch which hampers the sharing the screen.
Dhanesh sir, I just spoke to Abhay. He's just sharing the PPT. You can continue. We'll be sharing in another 1 minute.
Okay, fine. So let us discuss what are the important license and permissions required for a startup. You know that licenses and registrations are very, very important part in a business. The licenses and registration not only required to be obtained at the beginning, but it also needs to be maintained throughout of your business. The licenses registration differs from, say, state to state, as well as depending upon what type of business you do, how many number of employees you have, where is your business place. That factor will decide what are the registrations and licenses you require. There are certain licenses which are mandatory. There are certain licenses which are desirable. So you need to choose depending upon the benefits of the licenses, registrations, and requirements. So I will quickly give you what are the important licenses registrations. Okay, so the first is Shopback license. Say if you are running any commercial establishment, then you need to obtain a Shopback license. The second is PAN and TAN number. If you are running a company, LLP, partnership, then you need to obtain a separate PAN number and TAN number for your business. You need to apply it with the income tax department. This registration is goods and service tax registration, that is popularly known as GST registration. It is again a very, very important registration. If you don't have the GST number, you will face a lot of difficulties. You need to quote your GST number in your invoices. And if you don't have a GST number, then you may not get the vendor codes from your customer. So it's always better to get the GST number at the very beginning of your starting business. Next registration is Import Export Code number, popularly known as IC number. If you want to import or export goods and services, then you need this registration IC number. You need to quote the IC number in all your import export documentation. The next registration is food and license. This is based on the what business you do. Say for example, if you are into the hospitality business, typically serving of food, then you need this license. Startup India registration, we already discussed the benefits of the Startup India registration and how to do registration. So we'll move to a next registration, that Udyog Aadhaar or the MSME registration. Recently, in the month of July 2020, the government has changed the criteria for the registration of MSME. MSME typically stands for micro, that is M. S stands for small, M stands for medium. So that is micro, small, medium enterprises. So the criteria for micro is different, small enterprises is different, and medium enterprises is different. This registration is very, very important. It is not mandatory, but it is very essential. For example, if you startup sells goods or services to any other business or a company, and there is a delay in making payment to you, then if the delay is more than 45 days, then you are eligible for a delay interest at the rate thrice of the current RBI rate. So friends, you will understand how important this registration is. The process of registration is very, very simple. It can be done online. It is a web-based form. You need to give information about your business, and registration is done. You will get the certificate online. Now the next registration, it's not a registration, but it is important. It's not a compulsory license, but it is an important registration like trademark and patents. It is advisable that you register your trademark, if it is a name, if it is a logo, with the trademark authorities. It will give you protection. If somebody copies your trademark or registered trademark resembling with your trademark, you can obviously take a legal action against the other person and stop him from using a trademark which is resembling or which is copying to your trademark. The patent, it's depending upon whether your product or your process is eligible to get patent. But if you have a very novel idea which is eligible for patent, go for it. It will again give you a lot of protection. If somebody copies your a product, then you can take a legal action. You can sue against that person. You can stop him from doing that product, as well as you can also sue for damages. Next slide, please. Okay. So now we come to the part of the what are the documents required to be maintained by the businesses. This is very, very important. We normally keep trust on the other sides. We trust on our customers and vendors. We agree things over the mail or over the phone, or even we agree things on WhatsApp also. Okay, but it is important that whatever you agree, whatever are your commercial understanding, please reduce it into the document. Document helps you if there is a dispute and you need to initiate a legal action. For example, you want to start a court proceedings or arbitration, then these documents are very, very important. If documents are not there, you cannot produce any evidence giving support of your argument. So please understand, documents needs to be there. It needs to be on a stamp paper. Whatever are your understanding between the parties, please ensure that those understandings have been reduced on the piece of paper and it is signed by both the parties. So now we will look one by one what are the important documents typically need to be kept. This is just a general list. Depending upon the requirement, you can have other documents also. Appointment letters to employees. Who are your employees? Please issue appointment letters mentioning clear details about the salary, about the job profile, roles, responsibilities, leaves, the termination notice by you or termination notice by employees. Please issue appointment letter. Very, very important thing. The next document is a non-disclosure agreement, popularly known as NDAs or a confidentiality document. So what typically NDA states is that whoever is the disclosing party, the disclosing party shares information, confidential information to a receiving party. It is the receiving party's obligation to keep the confidential information as secret and will not disclose it to anybody. It will not give access of the confidential information to anybody. So this NDA is a important document. Whenever you are getting associate with the third party, please get sign the NDA if you are a disclosing party, and if you are a receiving party, please make sure what are your obligation, what is the non-disclosure period, how you will receive the confidential information from disclosing a party. Then the next important document is service level agreement, popularly known as SLS. So whenever you want to avail a service or you want to provide a service, service level agreements will come into the picture. Some of the important clauses are what are the consideration, like whether what are the criteria for a consideration, how the consideration is calculated, whether it's the fixed price or it's based on man hours, or it is based on per person. That information will be mentioned in the service level agreement. Also important, what is the scope of services, because disputes will happen mainly on the scope as well as on the consideration. So scope is important. You may hear from the service provider that, look, this is not into my scope, so I will not provide this service. But if the service is clearly mentioned in the scope, then he has no right to deny of not providing that service. So service level agreements typically covers the services related things. Second is distributorship agreement or a dealer agreement or an agency agreement. So if you are a manufacturer and you want to appoint a distributor, then this agreement you need to go for it. It gives the rights or engagement to a distributor to purchase your products and then distribute into the market. What is his market? You need to mention the territory. You need to also mention the commercial things like the price of the product under which the distributor will purchase your stock. Then there will be a lot of obligation on him to how to distribute the product, whether this distributorship is exclusive or non-exclusive. You need to mention it. Then the next document is the investment agreement. Slowly, when your business grows, you will require investment. Even investor will attract. They would like to invest in your startup. So the angel investor, the seed investors, and series rounds will start slowly. So the investment agreement is a bulky document. It requires a lot of efforts to understand the implication. It requires a lot of reading of the document. There will be some rights and privileges to the investor. You need to understand what are rights and privileges you are giving it to the investor. How many board seats you are offering to the investor. What are the veto rights? And what are the other rights and obligations on the promoters or founders. So this document is an important document. So please understand this document very carefully with the help of the advisors. They will help you to understand this document. The next document is a joint venture agreement. So if you are entering into a joint venture or collaboration with the other party who will come with some stake, then you need to go for this document. This typically mentions the rights, duties, obligations of the joint venture partner, the shareholding ratio, what are the exit routes, exit formalities, will be mentioned in the joint venture agreement. And friends, these documents are very, very important to read at the beginning, because if you don't read these documents at the beginning, if you don't read these documents carefully, then if there is a dispute, then you will not have a defense, or the dispute will not be of your side. Okay, so please read these documents very carefully with the help of advisors. Next slide, please. So now we will come to the part of the compliances. Okay, so compliance is again a very, very important a part of a business. These compliances will help you. Abhay, could you go please previous slide? Yeah. So in India, there are some central laws and there are some state laws. The compliances requirement will depending upon the central laws as well as the state laws. State laws will differ from state to state. Organizations needs to comply with various laws. The list is definitely long, but you need to put a lot of efforts. Lot of efforts to make sure that you are complying with various laws. These compliances may be event based or it may be periodic. What do you mean by event based is that it happening upon the particular situation. You need to do the compliance. Periodic means every say monthly, quarterly, or yearly. You need to submit various document. The timely compliances are very important. The timely compliances will reduce the liabilities, fine and penalties, and it will also avoid possible legal actions. Please note that if you don't comply regularly, then there is a possibility that the government or the department will take legal action against you. So duly compliance is always advisable, and you need to make compliance chart, make provisions of what are the TDS amounts or GST amounts you need to pay to the government. Please have a planning so that you will make sure the compliance in a timely manner. Next slide. So let us understand about the some normal or routine compliances. Income tax returns, yes, every year you need to submit your income tax return. Timely filing the income tax return is important. If you don't file within the due date, of course, there is you can file it subsequently, belated return, but you will require to pay the penalty as well as you will not get some benefits. So please file the income tax return before the due date. Second is TDS returns as well as the TDS payments. So TDS returns, yes, you need to file it quarterly. You need to make the payment of various TDS amounts monthly to the government. If you don't do that, there is a penalty available. Penalty you need to pay. So ensure that you make the TDS returns as well as TDS payment on a regular basis. Same is with GST return. Various types of GST returns you need to file it to the government. Same thing, you need to pay the GST amount to the government also. So please be ensure and have a planning that how much amount of TDS and GST you need to pay to the government. Arrange your funds accordingly. So that you will not face a situation where you want to make the payment but you don't have the funds. So ensure TDS and GST amounts early as per your budget or as per your planning. If you are a company, if you are a LLP, you need to submit the financial statements and annual returns once in a year to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Very important compliance. If you don't file it, again there are consequences. If you don't file it, say for regular 3 years, your registration might get struck off. So ensure it. A privacy policy. If you are into the e-commerce business, ensure that you have a privacy policy. Why you want to collect the information from your customers, how are you going to store it, how are you going to use the private and confidential information of the customer, who is your compliance officer. Mention all those things in a privacy policy. Next is compliances under the various labor laws. There are various labor or employment laws in India as well as in various states also. You need to comply with it. There are monthly returns, there are some half-yearly returns or yearly return also. Plus, you know that the provident funds, you need to deduct it from the salary of the employees, and then you need to pay it to the government. So again, if you don't do it, there are penalties available. So understand it as per your state laws. What are the state labor law compliances you need to do? The next is reply to the show cause notice. Say if you have not complied with any particular law or regulation, you may receive a show cause notice from the government. Please be very, very serious about the show cause notices. Give reply to show cause notices. Give honest reply to the show cause notices. Why you fail to make the compliances? Give a reply to it, so that you will avoid the further legal action due to the non-compliances. Other compliances under various applicable laws, depending upon your business, you need to submit various compliances, various documents or forms to the particular department. So friends, these are about the overview of some important legal essentials for this startup. If you want to make successful your business or venture, please ensure that you give due weightage to the legal compliances, legal documents, along with your marketing and sales side. If you are not given the good thought about to your legal compliances at the time of say investment round, also the investor will ask you a lot of questions. It will put a lot of condition precedents for completing the compliances. So please take your time and understand what are the legal essentials. Yes, so now I open this session or webinar for question answers. Please feel free to ask questions. I will answer to my best of ability.
Well, thank you, sir. It was a very insightful session, I must say, and especially for those who aim to actually open their startup. And in fact, with due diligence, these things need to be done. Otherwise, in later in future, these things become a hurdle for the company and always prove to be disadvantageous. So thank you, sir. Before the Q&A session, I would request everyone to please fill up the attendance form who haven't. Otherwise, you won't be marked you won't be marked present for the webinar. So the webinar is now open for Q&A session, and I would request Abhay to please take the lead.
Once again, thank you so much, Dhanesh sir, for joining us on Team Lawyer. We
Yes,
are
my pleasure,
really
Abhay.
thankful for your precious time on this such a hectic day, on such a hectic Monday. We have some questions live on our Facebook page. So first, the first question is from Rishabh. Rishabh is asking, for how long would recognition as a startup be valid?
Rishabh, it is mainly available for 10 years, and also depending upon your turnover. Once you cross that turnover and once you complete your registration or incorporation, then your startup India registration will not be valid.
Hope that
It depends
answers your
upon the
question.
year and it depending upon the turnover.
We have another question from Shraddha sir. She is asking, can an existing entity register itself as a startup under the Startup India scheme?
Yes, existing entity can be registered as a Startup India scheme. Only thing is that it should not be a resultant from the merger or amalgamation or the demerger.
Hope that answers your question, Shraddha. Another question is from Kunal sir. He is asking, would a one-person company be eligible under Startup India scheme?
Yes, one-person company is also eligible, provided it matches the other eligibility criteria.
Okay, sir. Another question is from Shobit sir. He is asking, are there any permissions required particularly for a startup by Sebi, that is the Securities and Exchange Board of India?
No, the Sebi requirements are not required unless and until you are going for a listing of your securities. The Sebi permissions will not be required for a private limited companies. The Sebi permissions are not required to start the business. So understand, if you are going for a listing on say SME platform or the big platform, you only require permission from Sebi, otherwise no.
Okay, sir. Another question is from Kunal. He is asking, what are the sources of external financing for a startup?
Kunal, there are many sources available. External financing sources are available. Like for example, if you're asking me the sources, say there are investors, typically the angel investor or venture capital funds or the private equity who can invest into the startup. There are various other not documents, but the instruments available, like equity shares, debentures, or a loan. You can also get the finance from the financial institution also.
The last question from my side is from Siddharth. He is asking, how does registration under the Startup India scheme helps during the insolvency of the business?
Could you ask him to elaborate the question?
So basically, he is asking that when a startup runs and if that startup fails, if it is not in the position to earn profits for the business, then how easily will the insolvency or the winding up of the business can be possible?
Yes. So Kunal, if you are registered with a Startup India firm, there is a benefit to you to exit or easy exit for a startup. There is a special window available.
That will be all from my side. Once again, at last, thank you, and over to Anushka, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So now we have questions coming from Santosh Subramanian, who says before starting up a company, in order to register the logo and brand name, what must one do and what are the steps?
See, first thing, that your brand name and logo needs to be unique. Okay, it should not be resembled with the existing trademark or existing brand name. If it is even the phonetically resembled also, then it may happen that the whoever has the early registered trademark owner, he may file legal action against you. So please have some research about the uniqueness of your logo and brand name.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now we have question from Abhinav Kumar, who asks, how do I determine my startup costs and other expenses?
Abhinav, this is depending upon what type of business you are going to do, how much employees you want to employ. So you need to have a 5 years or 3 years business plan, depending upon various sectors like production, the finance, the HR, marketing. You decide various type of heads and then allocate cost to it.
Thank you, sir. I hope that answers your question, Abhinav. Now we have this last question coming from Santosh Subramaniam again, who asks, where can one check for the availability of brand name?
It is available on the trademark website. It is a publicly available information. You can go to the trademark Department of India and do the public search.
Thank you, sir. I hope that answers your question, Santosh. Well, I would like to thank you, sir, for coming here and answering all the questions and taking this webinar. It was a pleasure to have you here. It was a very interesting and engrossing session. Thank you, sir. Is there any closing note for the audience from your side, sir?
Please be very serious about your business and idea. Give a lot of weightage to the legal compliances, legal documents, and the licenses and registrations. It will help you to grow and make your idea successful.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Well, before ending, I have two announcements. First, audience, please, I hope you have filled the attendance sheet. Otherwise, you won't be marked present. Secondly, the certificates for the webinars will be issued to you soon. as there is some software upgradation going at Lloyd, so will be coming. So the certificates will be issued to you soon. Yes.
Um, Anushka, so Dhanesh sir, we have one more question from Abhinav.
Okay.
Why is a business plan important and who should write it?
Say business plan is important because if you don't have the plan in front of you, you cannot reach to your destination, right? It will help you to understand the capital requirement or how much funds you require it. And who needs to do it? Yes, of course, the founder or the promoters needs to do it. There are advisors available. You can take the advice. And then you can prepare your business plan.
Okay, I hope Abhinav your question is answered by sir. Um, okay, so he have one more follow-up question. Sir, how would I know if my business plan is good or not?
Uh,
That
see,
I understand that doesn't fall under your
but
domain.
I will try to give the answer. Say you prepare a business plan at the beginning, then you check your business plan once you start your business. Say after 6 years or 1 year, you check with your plan whether it according to you have achieved as per your business plan or not. And if it is not as per your business plan, rectify it, correct it.
Okay. The next question we have is from Parul Chaudhary. What are the compliances under FEMA that startups needs to comply with?
Okay. So this is FEMA. It's typically stands for FEMA, that is the Foreign Exchange Management Act. It will only applicable if you fall into the scope of FEMA. So, for example, if you want or if you're getting the investment from the person outside India, if it is a foreign national, then you need to do a lot of FEMA compliances. Like you need to submit certain forms and details to the RBI about the investment. Same thing is applicable for equity or debenture. Also, you need to submit a yearly FLA return to RBI if you have that foreign liabilities exposure.
Okay. I hope all the participants have have written their query and been answered by sir. If anybody left with the query or a question, I request to unmute themselves and they can directly have a conversation with sir. If
I
you
just I
have.
just want to give one more closing comment. The friends, this is a general overview about the compliances and documents. Please feel very free to seek your advisors, your mentors for guidance how to achieve your goals.
Uh, I request Anushka to take over and we can close this session.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, sir. Once again, thanks. Thank you very much. And it's our pleasure to have you on board. So I think all the queries have been answered. And with this, I would like to end the session. Thank you
Yes.
very much.
Thank you very much.